A man discovers that his 15-year-old daughter is slipping away every afternoon. He follows her to a mysterious abandoned trailer park to find out whom she has been meeting. Frank Halperin was sure that there was nothing in the world harder to deal with than a teenage girl. Frank's daughter, Amy, was now 15, and she was beautiful, sensitive, wonderful, and completely impossible. Frank had a tougher time than your average dad because he'd been raising Amy on his own for the last 11 years, ever since his wife, Jenny, had vanished without a trace when their daughter was just 4. But lately, Amy had been evasive and secretive. She had been a keen soccer player, but suddenly she quit the team and spent her afternoons hanging around with her friends. Frank noticed she smelled like cigarette smoke when she came home. "Amy, have you been smoking?" he asked. "No, Dad." She cried crossly. "Seriously, I thought you trusted me." "Hun, your clothes smell like smoke," Frank pointed out. "Some of the guys I hang around with smoke." "Okay," Amy said, "but I don't. I thought you trusted me." With that, Amy flounced off up the stairs to her room and banged her door closed loudly. Frank shook his head. Now he'd done it. He knew that for the next few days, Amy would be distant, sulking. Couldn't she understand that he was doing his best? That all he wanted was to keep her safe. The next morning, Amy ate breakfast in a hurry, without even sitting down. "I'm spending the afternoon with Candace, Dad," she said acidly, "just so you don't have to send a spy after me or something." Frank watched her walk out inside. Things would get better as she matured, he hoped. In the meantime, all the literature seemed to advocate patience, lots of patience. Frank got up and opened the fridge door. He had picked up a deli roast chicken the night before, and he'd throw together a potato salad, make some garlic bread, and that would be their dinner. Frank frowned. Where was the chicken? He rummaged through the fridge. No chicken. There was also a container of salad missing, and some sliced pineapple. "Maybe I'm losing it," Frank exclaimed. "Damn. I was so sure I'd bought the roast chicken." He decided he'd pick up some pizza instead on his way home. That evening, when Frank walked in, the house was dark. Amy had obviously not arrived yet, which gave Frank time to pop the pizza in the oven and make the salad and the garlic bread. He was just mixing the salad dressing when the phone rang. "Hello," he said. "Hi, Mr. Halperin," cried a familiar, cheerful voice. "It's Candace. Could I speak to Amy, please? I've been calling her cell, but she's not picking up." "Candace?" Frank asked, bewildered. "But I thought Amy was with you." There was an embarrassed silence. Then Candace gushed, "Yeah, she was. But she left some stuff here, and I was wondering if she needed it for tonight, or if could take it to school. Anyway, bye." And with this, Candace quickly hung up the phone. Frank was stunned. Candace was obviously covering for Amy, which meant she'd lied to him. One thing Frank had always believed was that Amy didn't lie to him. Why now? What was happening in her life? Was she in trouble? Where was she going every afternoon? Frank was still pondering this mystery when Amy walked in. "Hey, Dad," she said cheerfully. "How's it going?" "All good," Frank said calmly. "Candace just called looking for you." Immediately, Amy tensed up. "Already? I was with her 20 minutes ago," she said. "What did she want?" "I believe you left some stuff at her place," Frank said, watching his daughter closely. "Yeah," said Amy, "I did. Don't worry, I'll call her." And with that, Amy scampered up the stairs. Yes, she was definitely lying to him, and Frank was going to find out why. There was no way he was turning a blind eye to this. The next afternoon, Frank was waiting outside Amy's school, and as she left, he followed her. Amy walked west, and 20 minutes later, she came to an old abandoned trailer park. Here and there were abandoned trailers. Most were burnt and wrecked, but at the back was one that seemed fairly intact. Frank watched with trepidation as Amy knocked on the door and then walked in. Frank's heart was thundering in his chest. Was his daughter buying drugs? He couldn't believe it. Not as Amy. Frank made up his mind, walked over to the trailer, and knocked loudly on the door. Amy opened the door and stood there, visibly shocked to see him. "Dad," she gasped. Frank pushed past her and rushed into the trailer. Inside, it was very neat and very clean. On the kitchen table, someone had set out dinner, a deli roast chicken and a salad. So that's where the food had gone. "Young lady," Frank cried, "you have some explaining to do." Then he heard movement from the back of the trailer and turned around to find himself face to face with a ghost. "Jenny?" he gasped. It was his wife. She looked thin and tired and frail. "Please, Dad," Annie cried and grabbed his arm. "I can explain." "I think she's the one who has some explaining to do," Frank cried angrily. He turned to Jenny. "Where have you been? And how dare you just show up after 11 years?" "Daddy," Amy was holding on to him. "Mom's ill. She's so ill." Frank noticed that Jenny was trembling and making strange wording gestures with her hands. "Dad, she left because they told her she had schizophrenia. She's been living on the streets, Daddy." Frank turned to stare at Jenny. "Schizophrenia?" he asked, "but why didn't you tell me? We could have worked through it." Jenny was shaking her head. "No," she cried. "I didn't want you and Amy to have a crazy woman in your lives. I'm a crazy woman. Now I'm okay, but soon, maybe not." Frank reached his wife in 2 steps. "I love you, Jenny. I never stopped loving you. I'm going to get you the help you need. And we are going to be a family again." Amy was hugging them both, and she threw Frank a look of such love that tears came into his eyes. "Just one thing, girls," Frank said. "From now on, no more secrets." Frank and Amy stood by Jenny through the difficult period of treatment and adaptation to her medication, and sometimes things weren't easy. But they were a family, and there are few things a family can't overcome with love. We were all stronger when we reach out to the ones we love. Jenny had run away when she discovered she had a mental issue, but fighting alone hadn't helped her. Only when she contacted her daughter did she grow stronger. Love embraces the strengths and the weaknesses. It is unconditional. Frank surprised Jenny when he told her he loved her despite her problems, and that he was going to stand by her. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with your friends. It might brighten their day and inspire them.